Okay, so this is principle number 5. This is the second time I've recorded it because I was alerted to say that my video had frozen at some point. So if you'd watched this previously and you found it had frozen, my apologies. So I'm recording this video again. Now this video is part of my core principles of anxiety course. And if you have been given access to this, there are other really important core principles for you to be aware of. This is core principle number 5. So you have to feel to heal, which is why most methods fail to treat anxiety and can even make it worse. So last time this froze because I kind of clicked on this. So let's see if I can just kind of zoom in. And this is just to kind of understand the different parts of your brain. So this is called the triune brain. So we have the prefrontal lobes, your prefrontal cortex or your neocortex. It's important for your language, abstract thought, imagination, your consciousness, and it reasons and rationalizes. So it's your rational brain. This is like your logical brain. And the prefrontal lobe says the executive state represents the optimal state for problem solving and learning. This brain state also asks the question, what can I learn from this? Now, the limbic system is the kind of emotional center of your brain, memories and habits. Some people may call this like your subconscious kind of thoughts and things like that. And they say it's important for decisions. Now, your limbic system, this brain state represents mid-level functionality and asks the question, am I loved? The only way to soothe an upset emotional state is through connection. Now, the brainstem is important for your fight and flight state. And this just happens kind of autopilot. Now, the survival state represents the primal brain and asks the question, am I safe? The only way to soothe the survival state is through the creation of safety. Now, the reason why I'm kind of showing you this is that anxiety is activation of the fight and flight state. So what's happening is when we're kind of going into the state of anxiety, this part of your brain is taking over, your brain stem's taking over. This is almost like the most ancient, most primal part of your brain. And what happens is this rational part of your brain, your kind of your conscious brain, your kind of logical, adult, rational thinking brain switches off. And we're kind of almost always in our kind of like this brain stem, your limbic system may be kind of firing off as well. But when this is happening, when you're in autopilot fight and flight state, your neocortex, your prefrontal cortex is all kind of switched off. We don't have access to it. So this is important to know and important to realize why things may or may not work. So this is a slide from a previous course that I've done, why most methods fail to resolve anxiety. And today we're going to go a little bit deeper into it. But there are top-down therapies and there are bottom-up therapies. So with top-down therapy, like you've got green, blue, and red. So it's green, blue, and red. The rational brain, emotional brain, survival brain. So top-down therapies like talk therapy, CBT, psychotherapy, counselling, and things like that, they work top-down. So they access and they work through your rational brain. They try to logicalize and understand things and change your thoughts, to hopefully change your feelings and to hopefully turn off your survival brain. Bottom-up therapies focus on first dealing with your survival brain, turning the survival alarm off, dealing with your emotions, and then dealing with the thoughts. Now, going through the different things, medication only treats the symptom and not the root. So what medication will do is it kind of just numbs what you're feeling rather than treating the root cause. Most therapies are top-down therapies focused on your rational thinking brain. But anxiety, as you will know, is anything but rational. Anxiety is a survival response, the fight and flight response. And once triggered, your rational brain literally switches off. So any coping strategies and rational knowledge go out the window when you're anxious. So CBT, all your kind of cognitive techniques or cognitive modalities become useless when anxious. They're great when you're in a nice regulated state of mind, where you can kind of understand, you can comprehend, you're thinking rationally, and it can all make sense, but it all completely goes out the window whenever your survival brain's activated, and that's when we're feeling anxious. Now, talk therapy can actually make it worse and create re-traumatization. Re-traumatization is when we're kind of reactivating your survival responses. We can kind of like relive our traumas, and it causes re-traumatization, where there's activation but there's no release. So you have to work bottom up through the body, firstly turning off the survival alarm. The first thing you want to do, and it's the reason why bottom up therapy is the way to go, is because when your survival brain is taken over, you cannot access this rational brain. So you cannot work from top down. You have to work the bottom up. You have to turn this alarm off first, then process your feelings, and then all the thoughts will stop. This is what's powering the kind of anxious thoughts that you may be having. So again, that's just going through that content. Let's kind of like zoom out. It should be a little bit easier to read. So why most methods found to work? Again, it's just probably going over things that we kind of already just mentioned, but let's kind of go over it again. The anxious thoughts and weird unexplained physical symptoms such as dizziness, etc. are your body's attempt to speak to you because it is stuck in survival mode and needs your help. So your body's speaking to you all the time, but perhaps you don't know how to listen. Now your body's stuck in survival mode because the energy and emotions suppressing your body that you've been consciously or unconsciously avoiding by escaping to your head. This is one of the principles that we've already covered. If you haven't got access to that, send me a message and I'll see what I can do. Now, anxiety isn't an overthinking problem. Overthinking is a symptom. What anxiety is an underfeeling problem. So we actually want to be able to feel through things. That's the reason what's actually contributing to the anxious thoughts. Again, this is all covered in previous core principles. Now, your anxious thoughts are coming from your body or your subconscious mind. Now, when I say subconscious mind, it's not a particular mind, it's not a particular place or anything like that. It's just anything that's not your conscious mind. So you could use the unconscious mind or the non-conscious mind or your body. They're all interchangeable. If your anxious thoughts were coming from your conscious mind, you would just choose to stop thinking them. So for example, if I'm sitting here trying to think about what I'm having for lunch or for dinner later, if I don't want to think about it, I'll just stop thinking about it. Whenever you're noticing, whenever any automatic thoughts coming into your mind that you can't control, you kind of can't stop thinking about it, it's coming from your body or your subconscious, but it's not coming from your conscious mind. So anything that's coming from your subconscious mind or your body, you cannot outthink because your conscious mind is never going to be as more powerful as your subconscious mind. And this is why you cannot outthink your subconscious thoughts or think your way out of survival mode. This is because your rational cognitive brain switches off when it's in survival mode. You lose the ability to think rationally, and instead all of your thoughts are filtered through the lens of anxiety, and thinking becomes useless. And this is why you can know you're safe logically and know the anxious thoughts are completely irrational, but this does nothing to stop the anxious thoughts or the feelings. Now, the answer is learning how to signal safety in your body so you can turn the anxiety alarm off and come out of survival mode. Now, safety isn't the absence of threat, but the presence of safe connection, either from yourself or others. So the safe connection to be in your body, the safe connection to be with what you're feeling and what you're experiencing, not just the absence of threat. So sometimes you can know that, there's no danger, there's no threat, and for whatever reason, the alarm is still not coming off. That's because you don't feel safe to connect. You don't feel safe to connect with your body or connect with what you're feeling. Now, you can signal safety in your body by stimulating the vagus nerve through somatic exercises, like the ones that I do in my somatic self-care sessions or in the first aid kit. But with that said, somatic exercises cannot compare to somebody qualified in somatic release therapy that can hold space and provide the co-regulation and safety needed so you can turn off the anxiety alarm, come out of survival mode, and release the energy and emotions inside you. Now, most methods don't teach you how to feel and hold space for your feelings, and even the trauma-focused therapies. So even the trauma-focused therapies, which we'll cover again a little bit later on in this lesson, but even the trauma-focused therapies often, say for example, EMDR, things like that, you'll go in, they'll get you to think of a memory or whatever may be connected that you may want to process. They'll take you through the eye movements, your body will be flooded with emotions, but it doesn't teach you how to feel. It feels very alarming, very overwhelming, and it's like you may be able to heal or release in a clinical setting, but you may not be able to, you may not know how to do it on an everyday basis. And this doesn't create a long-term solution. This is a short-term strategy, if anything, because life's going to happen. Your life's going to be stressful. Something else is going to happen in your life. Stress is going to build up in your system. Emotion and energy is going to build up in your system. And if you don't know how to actually release this energy, you're going to run into the same problems of anxiety, disconnection, and so on in the future. Now let's go through some of the therapies and why they may not be best for anxiety. So first, let's start with the top-down traditional therapies. This is things like talk therapy, counselling, CBT, psychotherapy, and so on. Now, again, top-down therapies work via your rational prefrontal neocortex. If this part of your brain is offline when anxious, then the therapies that rely on this part of your brain become useless. This can cause you to feel like a failure when a professional is giving you advice, but it's not working, or let's just say when it's not working, and you may even blame yourself. If you've had this experience, you're not failing, the therapy is failing you. So I've had so many clients come to me where, they've had CBT, sometimes on the NHS, which again is not the best in itself. But they've not had the kind of best outcome, and they felt like the therapist was telling them to do things and they was doing it and it just wasn't working. This was making them really feel like a failure, that they were stuck with anxiety. And I promise you, this is not true at all. If this has been your experience, I guarantee you I can provide a very, very simple, not necessarily comfortable or easy, but I'll make it as comfortable as possible. A very, very simple solution to this, which we'll cover a little bit later. So the rational cognitive brain is in charge of the communication, and this is also why it can be hard to verbalize what you're experiencing, making talk therapy difficult. Sometimes we don't know what to say, or some people have said to me that the reason why they haven't gone to therapy or talk therapy in the past was they don't know what to talk about. They don't feel like they want to talk about it or even need to talk about it. Again, one of the reasons why this can be difficult is because that thinking, communicating part of your brain, especially when anxious or when your nervous system is activating, is really hard to kind of access. So it can also cause re-traumatization when they re-trigger the survival energy, but they lack sufficient ability to co-regulate and create enough safety to deactivate and then release the energy inside you. Now, talk therapy asks what happened, often relying on digging up the past. Digging on the past? Whereas somatic therapy asks what's happening inside your body in this moment, not necessarily needing to dig up the past. So while we can speak about things, so sometimes it can help with some closure when I'm working with clients. A lot of times I have no idea what the client's working on. I have no need to. If the client wants to speak about things, if you want your story and stuff to be heard, we can do that, but it's not really what we're here for. Most of the time, the story's getting you stuck and deeper into the pattern and the trauma. What we want to do is actually provide an actual solution, or being able to help you and help you out of it. That's the most important thing. What's happening inside your body, so we can kind of set you free. Now, because talk therapy works on your adult cognitive mind, many of my clients have had traditional therapy and have come to a level of acceptance about their past and their childhood on an adult cognitive level, but it doesn't release the energy or emotions attached to it. So triggers and patterns still remain unhealed. So I've had so many clients come to me where they're like, yeah, I've had therapy, I understand it, I'm at peace with, my past, everything like that. They've done all of that work, but they still notice the triggers. They still notice their nervous system and their body activate. And this is because the cognitive stuff is great for understanding things and, having some awareness, things like that. But it's just missing a link of helping the energy to move through your body somatically. That's why somatic therapy is what I would do. Now, the most effective talk therapists will ideally combine their work with some somatic therapy, or at least go on their own somatic healing journey, where they can build a capable nervous system that can co-regulate with you. Now, I've said co-regulate a couple of times. If this is something new to you, what it basically means is, when you feel just comfortable in someone's presence and you feel really, really safe, the reason for that is that they're keeping themselves self-regulated. And this is regulating your nervous system. So if, even as I'm speaking to you now, your body is feeling my energy in terms of my nervous system, where my nervous system at, and it's either signaling safety or danger. And this is happening before the words that come out of my mouth are even registering in your brain. So what co-regulation is somebody helping you to feel safe in your body and in your experience. Now, what often happens is that if somebody doesn't feel safe to be in your experience themselves, say for example, if you're having a panic attack and they need to fix you or trying to save you because they don't feel comfortable with it, you feel that. And often with talk therapy, it's almost like done sometimes where they're taught to kind of be very professional and remain very disconnected, and often doing so, it can feel quite disconnected or it can even feel like an abandonment. So a connection may be there, you may bring something up, and then because they're kind of holding or suppressing, containing themselves, they're no longer able to connect, and then it feels like abandonment in that moment, and it kind of repeats and creates this cycle. Now, many top-down therapists are really, really, really mind smart, but not necessarily body smart. So they've got all the qualifications, they've got all the degrees, things like that, but they're not so attuned to their body. And I have this so many times when, I actually run a mentorship to train people in somatic release therapy in the method I've created. And I've had plenty of therapists ask me, what are your, credentials and what are your qualifications and things like that. And it's funny because it's such a kind of cognitive question. It's like, that's what cognitive safety is. And they miss the irony of them even asking that question, because they're basically saying, I need to know something, to then, if I have the information about you, that makes me feel safe. But it doesn't. Like, what makes you feel safe is how you feel. So when I'm having, when I'm opening to work with somebody, I have a consultation for them to have a conversation with me to see how their body feels. And if I can make them body feel safe, that's what's necessary for the process to actually be successful. It's not about any kind of qualifications or degrees and things like that make you feel safe with somebody. That's what somatic safety is. So it's, like I said, it's just funny because when somebody kind of asks you questions or what somebody says represents their model of reality, and in their model of reality, you need to have this qualification to be able to do this work. But it's actually almost some people will be way too much in their head to be able to be with you in that experience, and it's all about presence and connection. Now, a capable, resilient nervous system is earned from doing the somatic inner work, not learned from the typical cognitive consumption of knowledge. And this is why my mentorship program, To Learn My Method, provides the top-down information so you can rationally understand. However, the core learning is focused on modeling, mirroring, and practicing in the live sessions. And it doesn't teach you, doing top-down therapy doesn't teach you how to feel or how to build resilience with your feelings. Now, moving on to medication. Medication works by suppressing your sympathetic activation and numbing you. So, for example, if you experience anxiety, you may not notice the anxiety symptoms. It's really good at kind of dampening the symptoms. But what happens, it kind of creates disconnection. So you become less connected to what you're feeling. And again, this is why you may notice less anxiety symptoms, but you may find it harder to feel anything, experience joy, and reach orgasm. These are all, side effects of antidepressants and medication. Now, it doesn't repair the nervous system or release the energy. It's at absolute best is a temporary solution at best, because that energy is still going to remain inside you, because you have to feel to heal. Excuse me. And it doesn't help repair your nervous system. So we actually want to strengthen the nervous system to build capacity so you can actually, live life and feel your feelings. Also, getting the dosage can be correct can be difficult, and it can make anxiety worse as you feel more out of it and out of control. So I've had a lot of clients where they felt really anxious when they've either taken drugs before and they felt out of control, or they felt out of a normal state. Sometimes medication can have this same effect, and it can make you feel really, really out of it. And then because you cannot control how you're feeling, because you can't just come out of it, you've got to wait for the drug to kind of wear off. That feeling of being out of control can actually kind of create more anxiety for some people. Again, often it just delays the healing process. And again, it doesn't teach you how to feel or build any resilience. Hypnotherapy. I've got nothing against hypnotherapy. I've actually started my therapy journey in hypnotherapy. But what I found was that, even when I was doing it with other clients, there was a lot of fears about being hypnotized. I also found that there was resistance to follow someone's lead and not feeling safe enough to surrender and let go of control. It also requires attention and focus, difficult with high activation, mind racing. If someone's really in a high activated state of anxiety, really hard sometimes to get someone to be present and follow and connect and just relax. And often people come to hypnotherapy because they are over reliant on somebody else. Like, oh, can you just hypnotize me and make the feelings go away? Again, this doesn't teach you how to feel. So it becomes an over reliance on somebody else and often, say, for example, hypnosis can actually work where they can actually kind of get the feelings to go away. But again, maybe you go to a hypnotherapist and they make the feelings go away. But life is going to happen to you. Life is going to happen to you. And further down the line, something's going to happen. You're going to feel those same feelings. And if you still don't feel safe to feel those feelings, you're going to avoid them. You're going to suppress them. You're going to disconnect. And that's going to fuel even more anxiety. Now, moving on to trauma therapies. There are many techniques and therapies to release trauma and there are many techniques and therapies to release trauma that exist. Apologies, sorry, so you can see that I rewrote everything. That exists, such as EMDR. Now, these are powerful therapies that have to be used extremely carefully, or they can make things worse. Now, one of the reasons why some trauma therapies may not work is that you have subconscious blocks. Now, your body can block these from working due to subconscious blocks, such as if you have a belief or a pattern that says it's not safe to feel anxious, that if they are not released, will block the somatic release process. So the somatic release process is, again, it goes through in one of the other core principles after this. It goes through your natural healing process. And you'll move through these different stages of the release process. Every single human body will go through this process. Now, something's contained in your body, and then to actually go to the next stage is actually the activation stage, where you're feeling the feeling of activation. Going through the release process, if somebody's doing a trauma therapy, you have to go into the activation. If your body says it's not safe to feel the activation, as soon as you start going into the activation anywhere near it, you're going to resist it. You want to run away from it, move away from it, and you're not going to feel safe to surrender into it. And this will cause you to self-sabotage the therapy or completely shut down and not give access to those parts of you or to those feelings and emotions. It can also happen or be unsuccessful because of a lack of capacity. So when you lack the capacity to feel through the trauma, one of two things will happen. Either one, your body will resist the therapy. So a lack of capacity, imagine that, say your body is like a cable, like an electric cable. Now, how much electricity can go for that cable is based on the wiring or how powerful the cables are. For most people that experience anxiety, their capacity to feel and be present with their energy emotions is low. If you have got a certain amount of energy, that, say for example, is like a 10 out of 10 or 15 out of 10 amount of energy, more than your body can handle, for that energy to go fully through you, for it to be released, it may overwhelm your system. So what happens is when you don't have the capacity, you will either resist it and completely shut down and not even allow the energy to activate, or the therapy will work, but the therapy will feel overwhelming and flood your body with more energy and emotions than you can handle. And this not only puts you off from doing any further work, but doesn't actually teach you the most important thing: how to hold space for your feelings and feel through them. And instead, it reinforces the pattern that your feelings are to be avoided. Now, there have been many times where I've had to clean up the mess of other therapists where they have flooded their clients' bodies with more energy and emotions than the client could handle and pushed them even deeper into their symptoms of anxiety and disconnection. This often happens with the eye movement therapies, and I'm trained and qualified in lots of them: EMDR, brain spotting, IEMT, blast, the advanced versions, all of these as well. I like them. They are really, really powerful, like I said. But when somebody doesn't have the capacity for it, what happens is, even if you don't have the capacity for it, it really brings up the emotions and energy really quickly, and it can be harder to keep someone resourced. This floods the body with the energy and emotions. I've worked with many clients where they've seen an EMDR therapist and then they've come to me, and I've had to actually spend the work of working and through the releasing the energy in a safe but controlled way that doesn't overwhelm them. And this is why I do things the way I do now. Now, I learned how to navigate this the hard way. I've trained again in many trauma therapies and did things the way I was taught, exactly how everyone's doing it. But I found many clients of mine, even when it was successful, found it overwhelming. This pushed me to create and refine my own process that not only works, but my clients find comfortable and it doesn't overwhelm them. Now, when you work with the body, and this is how I now do things, when you're actually working with the body will only allow the amount of energy and emotions to surface that won't overwhelm the body. Or if I ask the body to do so, the body will just say, no, I'm not willing or able to do that. What this means is that you would never ever get overwhelmed using my way of doing things. Now, trauma therapists or trauma therapies, are often focused on the release and not enough on building capacity or building your ability to hold space for your feelings so that you won't end up back to square one in the future. This is the kind of end goal. You want to learn how to feel your feelings. And if, say, for example, imagine if I was trying to lift weights, I was trying to get stronger. If I was learning how to perform an exercise with more weight than my body can handle, I would just get crushed every single time. Or maybe I do it, but I do it with such terrible technique once that I'm not really learning things. Versus if I took all the weight down, I was lifting a weight that I could do, which was maybe sort of challenging, but I could do it. I'm going to learn better technique. I'm going to learn how to do it. I'm going to learn how to control the weight, and I'm going to learn, I'm going to just learn it a lot better, more efficiently. This is essentially my same approach when I'm helping people to feel their feelings and learn to build their capacity and ability to self-regulate and release. What this does, it actually teaches you without overwhelming you. And this is ultimately what we need to do. And then we have nervous system regulation and all the vagus nerve exercises. Now, nervous system regulation is now all over social media. I'm sure you've probably already seen, with many unqualified people jumping on a bandwagon. And a main ingredient missing in most nervous system regulation courses and memberships is co-regulation. That's the regulation. We heal in connection. Co-regulation is my body being regulated, which then regulates your system. And I'm sure you've experienced this. You walked into a room, someone's got the arsehole, and you feel like you're walking on eggshells. That's the opposite. It's co-dysregulation. Versus you may have experienced, sometimes we've been around someone who's so at peace with themselves, you just feel relaxed around them, and they start to actually co-regulate you. And this is happening whether or not you kind of recognize it or not. This happens with every single connection and human interaction that you have. Now, nervous system regulation and somatic exercise are amazing. I'm a massive fan of them, and that's what my anxiety first aid kit is all about. Now, on your own, you only have your own experience to go by. And if your body is adamant you're in danger, you have to be able to create enough safety to counterbalance survival response. And this is hard to do on your own to begin with. Co-regulation is someone else's body being more present with your experience and their body signaling nothing but safety. And then your body goes, huh? If they can feel safe in my experience, maybe I could be safe in this experience too. And you then model and mirror the ability to feel safe, to feel through the experience. That's an example of what co-regulation is. Same way that, if your mum or someone that really cares about you that sees that you're kind of really overwhelmed, that you're having a panic attack, you're anxious, they may be like, oh my God, I need you to be okay. They're not being accepting and being okay with what you're feeling in that moment, not out of any kind of negativity because they love you and they care about you. But this is basically almost like saying, I need you to be okay. I'm now not okay and you're not okay. Versus if I'm, just because it's so normal to me, because I'm so comfortable with what you're experiencing, you can experience absolutely anything. And by me being completely 100% comfortable with what you're experiencing, your body then feels that signal of safety. And that's my body saying to your body, hey, look, we're okay here. It's completely okay for you to feel this way. I don't need you to change. I don't need to fix you. You don't need to do anything. Then just be yourself and be you, who you are in this moment, and feeling what you're feeling is 100% okay. And I can accept you in this moment. And with that connection and that acceptance, your body goes, oh, and it just unfolds, and then you go through your own natural release process. Now, you have to feel to heal. Anxiety is overthinking and underfeeling. You have to feel to heal, but you can only feel at your capacity to do so. So if you have to feel to heal, which is true, everyone has a different ability to feel, and everyone have a different capacity to feel. So you can only feel what you have the capacity to actually experience and feel through. Imagine everyone's different sensitivities and tolerances. When somebody has almost no sensitivity, high sensitivity and no tolerance to feeling what they're feeling, they're going to have a very low capacity to actually release the energy and emotions through them. A bit like, say, someone who is very weak in the gym, can't lift any weights, versus somebody who is super, super, super strong. They can have much higher capacity. Now, long-term anxiety recovery requires learning how to feel and how to release. If you don't learn how to feel and how to release, you're going to have short-term anxiety relief at best. We need to learn how to feel, and this is why it's all about connecting with your body and learning how to feel and learning how to release. It doesn't matter what has caused the emotions and stress energy to build up inside you. It could be things from the past, things from the present, doesn't matter. Regardless, it's more important to focus on the actual solution, which is releasing and learning how to feel, hold space for your emotions, and release going forwards, so it no longer builds up in the future. And this is why my one-to-one somatic release therapy is focused not only on helping you to heal, but teaching you how to feel by building your capacity and ability to hold space for your emotions and energy and allow them to pass through you without creating anxiety, overwhelm, or causing you to disconnect. This is akin to teaching a man to fish and feeding him for life instead of giving him a fish and feeding him for a day. My method teaches you how to live an anxiety-free life, as you will no longer suppress or avoid stress or emotions and instead allow it to pass through you and release so they don't build up inside you and create anxiety. Now, here's a quote I love from Peter Levine, one of the trauma experts in the world. And the quote says, "You cannot heal alone, but no one can do it for you." And it's a bit like, parenting. You can't really survive childhood on your own, but nobody can live your life for you. But what this means is that we heal in connection. So you're not going to heal on your own. You're not going to sort of fully heal, but I can't do it for you either. That's why, like I say, with the hypnotherapy, sometimes we want somebody else to kind of take care of us and do it for us. I love this quote because, like I said, my goal is to model for your body and for your body to mirror it. And a lot of times when I work with somebody, a lot of the learning, a lot of the exchange that's happening is happening non-verbally, body to body, and not from head to head or brain to brain of what I'm actually cognitive saying to them. By me being comfortable in your experience, essentially when we're working. I think I'll cover this in this next thing anyway. So learning to feel and heal happens in connection with another through modeling and mirroring their nervous system. For example, if you work with me, I do not heal you. I'll take on some of your stress and emotions, but I'll be very comfortable with it, feeling it, and then I'll release it and let it go. Now, this teaches your body to do the same, and you heal yourself by feeling safe to feel it, to move through your body and be released. Now, this is again why if you're a parent, you may notice that when your kids are having a tough time, they're going to act in an annoying, irritating, frustrating way. You're going to feel their irritation and annoyance. They will, be naughty and play up, and they will irritate you. And this isn't on purpose. It's almost like a subconscious way for them to basically project the feelings onto you. And then by you modeling, if you could actually feel it, accept it, and then, let it go, you're teaching them how to do the same. Otherwise, they don't learn. We learn from modeling and mirroring. And again, this is why my somatic self-care membership has 2 live sessions a week with me, so I can co-regulate with you. Every member informs me that it's a lot easier to turn the anxiety alarm off and release the energy emotions on the live calls because of the co-regulation with my body than when they're trying to self-regulate on their own. Now, we're healing connection. Plus, if you're relying on yourself to make time to do the somatic exercises, you're likely to not keep it up or lack the motivation. The somatic self-care membership provides the accountability, consistency, knowing that I will always be there. However, nothing can compare to working with somebody one-to-one that is qualified in the somatic release method, that can hold space for you and teach you how to release safely by guiding you through your own release process. Now, if you've tried other methods previously and have been unsuccessful, it's not your fault. You just haven't worked with anyone that can provide you with the safety your body needs to reconnect with your body, come out of survival mode, and teach you how to feel and release. Now, for more information on the other core principles of anxiety recovery and how to heal anxiety, you can purchase my anxiety first aid kit if you haven't already. Or if you're interested in any of my services, just send me a message.